Welcome to the weekly roundup for April 29th, 2022, in which we're going to see what has happened during this week on the channel, and we're going to pick out one real nugget of wisdom from the comment section. And this one, it was a real eye-opener to me, so I'm really excited to share it with you today. But first, for the first time in the history of the channel, we have a sponsor. I want to thank Hong for becoming the first patron, the first sleep hero to sponsor an episode. Thank you so much, Hong. It means the world. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, you know that I had this idea of starting a Patreon page. Then I was like, I flip-flopped. I was like, maybe not. But then serendipitously, Hong this week said, is there any way I can contribute? And I sent the link, and now it's in the description. If you want to become a sleep hero and get a shout out and sponsor an episode, the link is right there in the description of this episode. With that said, let us jump in here and talk about this week on the Sleep Coach School channel. Well, Monday, we had Insomnia Insight number 456, in which we talked about why it is that we can sleep, one night or a stretch of nights and still be anxious. And the insight for this week's roundup comes from this episode, so we'll talk more about this in a second. Tuesday, we had Heard Online number 7, where we looked at the article called Trying to Sleep is an Oxymoron by Nick Wignall. And we saw that we saw a lot of wisdom in this article, including that, anything whenever we try to do something that isn't possible to do, well, that doesn't make sense. We can't try. So therefore, trying to sleep is an oxymoron. Much more wisdom in that teaching and in other teaching from Nick Wignall. On Wednesday, we had the first ever open class number 152. Jonathan, I am going to rename them Insomnia Open Class in the future. I just haven't gotten around to it. But in this particular episode, we talked about many things. But one thing I want to highlight here is that when we become, quote unquote, addicted to staying up later, this is an attempt to avoid the sleep struggle. It's sleep struggle. When the night has become a battle, we sometimes try to just like ignore it. I'm not going to stay up later. I'm going to stay up later. I don't want to go to bed because I don't want to face the struggle. And we talked about that and how we can leave that struggle in open class number 152. Thursday, which was yesterday, we had Insomnia Insight number 457 because talking insomnia didn't happen that time. But we talked about yesterday when sleeping near a partner is difficult because of snoring or movements. And we saw that it's not the snoring or the movements, but it's the fear that they will make us, stay awake. That's really what's driving the struggle there. More on that in yesterday's episode. So today, I really want to share, I'm really excited to share this insight from the comment section, gold in the comment section again. So in the comments of the episode from Monday, there was this comment from I'm going to say Andrew57, Andrew B7 maybe, and it reads like this: Hi Daniel, this reminds me of a comment that you spoke about some time ago. I think it was by Thea, who said, if only I could get one night of good sleep, then I know I'd be okay. Others have said similar things. I remember the thought came to my mind at this time was, sleep isn't a cure for insomnia. When I read those words, I was like, wow, that was exactly what I was, meaning to say in Insomnia Insight number 456, but I couldn't put it that clearly. And it really like, it was a real moment to me, because when a whole like line of thinking can be distilled into one sentence, that's so powerful and so helpful. So, but when you hear this for the first time, it can sound like really, really, it can sound really, really counterintuitive. So let's unpack this here. Let's unpack this thought here. So imagine that you have become scared of birds, right? Then we can see that if we imagine that we for some reason, either we hide or just by coincidence, we don't encounter a bird for a whole month. No encounter with any bird. Will that make us less scared? We can see that that's probably not the case. We can not see a bird for months or something like that. But if we're still scared of them, like nothing will change by us not encountering them. If anything, it may be the opposite, right? And similarly, when we have become scared of being awake at night, the absence of what we fear isn't what leads us to leave that struggle forever. In other words, when we have become scared of being awake at night and we happen to sleep, then that is not necessarily what leads us to to leaving the struggle, because the fear can still exist, even though we're not exposed to what we fear. And this is where that phrase comes in. So sleep, we can see sleep isn't the cure for insomnia. Now, just a very brief sideline here. The word cure is tricky because it implies there's some disease, which there isn't. But I still think this is such a powerful statement. So I leave it here. Sleep isn't a cure for insomnia. And if we go back to the birds, we can see that exposing ourselves to them, to read about them, to see them, to maybe even have a bird sit in our hand, something like that. That is that is ultimately what leads us to see that birds are harmless, right? And similarly, going back to sleep or insomnia, it's the willingness to face what we fear. This leads us to have no sleep struggle for the rest of our lives. I thought this sentence again was so powerful. I wanted to really share it and unpack it here. With that said, I hope you have a really, really nice weekend, and know that if you find everything you need on your path to sleeping well for the rest of your life on this channel, that is amazing. If you'd like a little more support, then we can help. Head over to our website, and there are several coaching options. I hope you'll find one that suits you really, really well. Again, have a really nice weekend, and look forward to having you back next week. Until then, take it easy.